Welcome to this edition of SAC News in Focus. I'm Andrew Lapp. My guest today is the chair of the Communications Department, but he's also taken a leadership role in a more official capacity as the go-to person on campus for issues concerning the LGBTQ plus community. Lance Lockwood joins us for In Focus. Lance.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So in your capacity, the leadership role you've tried to take with the LGBT community on campus, I know safe space is always a big issue concerning that community. What have you pioneered here on our campus for us?
Well, I think that something that's extremely important is understanding why we've created that program. Safe space has been around a while, and faculty and staff could take courses in it and get themselves more familiarized with it. But what I was discovering is over a period of time is that more and more students, including some faculty and staff, weren't really taking advantage of what it was for. A lot of times students just had general questions and they would just, Google it or something. There is an amazing opportunity with Safe Space to have this sit-down, face-to-face type conversation with it. So I think that in the sense of pioneering something, I think it would be more of just having a particular space in one part of our campus. I know that there are lots of faculty and staff out there.
Okay. So just because I think there might be
one space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's not something I knew.
No.
Just because I think there might be a little bit of confusion as what exactly is it? Could you just give us a little bit of an example of what it is? And also I think we're going to throw up a graphic on the screen of what the sticker looks like so people know where they can find it.
Good. It's basically for anybody who is part of the LGBTQIA society or community, as we would like to say, and not even with them. Anyone can come and use a safe space. It's more of literally, I prefer to call it a safer space because I cannot guarantee a student a safe space. It's kind of one of those deceiving things. You can't come to me and be safe, but you can be safer. But it is an opportunity to, let me rephrase that. It is a place where students have an opportunity to begin having an open dialogue with somebody who has lived through being, openly gay man on campus and what it means to grow up and what that was like. And for me, growing up in the 80s and 90s, being a gay man is completely different than what students are doing today. So they have a little more freedom today than they did when I was growing up, but at the same time, they don't have the opportunities to talk openly about a lot of different things.
No, I'm sure there's still a lot of room to relate with students.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's more of a place where if they have issues with discrimination based on sexuality, based on gender, based on, it could be ethnicity, it could be race, but it's tied in with, because we understand it within the community that there is even discrimination amongst the LGBTQ community based on the element. I know people go, what do you mean? It happens, just because you are gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever, you still could be discriminated against based on skin color, hair color, body shapes. So
other kinds of discrimination.
Absolutely, and so this gives students an opportunity to come and say, hey, Professor Lockwood, this is what's going on. And we have to understand is that there is a very fine line that we still have to play with Title V and Title IX, that if a student comes to us with something that is extremely traumatic or dramatic that's happened to them, they have to understand that they're welcome to talk to us about it. But because we are now mandated by the state to be mandatory reporters of incidents like that, they have to understand that you're welcome to speak to me about these things, but I am going to have to report it eventually.
That actually kind of gets into another thing that I want to ask you about. What is the sort of training and what has made this more of an official program as opposed to just letting students know you can talk to your teachers?
Well, because at Santa Ana College, we do lots of flex activities for faculty and staff members. Safe Space was created originally from the psych department. Probably, I could be wrong about this, maybe 8-9 years ago, the psych department says, look, we need to have something on campus specifically designed for the LGBTQ community. So it became a training where faculty and staff would go and learn about what it meant to be a member of the LGBTQ community. And it happened for about 2 years before I actually went and said, okay, let's see what they're doing. Because I kept thinking, why do I need to be trained? I'm a gay man, so it's what do I need to know? But what it turned out is I'm really glad that I went to go to the training. Part of the reason is to say to, at the time, the facilitators, whoa, that is completely wrong. There wasn't anyone there they were doing LGBTQ training, but there wasn't anyone from the community there. So they were getting wonderful scripts, and it was pleasant and it was sweet, and it's like, well, that's so nice that you're doing that, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
So being able to be part of that training, saying, okay, but let's take a realistic approach to this. What does it mean when you're 18, 19 years old, going to school full time, working full time, realizing that you've wanted to be out in society? How do I do it? I think that a majority of the students that I've seen in the past, probably 5 years at least, have come to me just to sit down and say, Professor Lockwood, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm transgender. You're the first person I'm telling, which is extremely.
It's an enormous responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, because you want to kind of reach out and like embrace them and go, okay, it's going to be okay. But at the same time, you have to let them continue to do the communication factor. You have to let them get the message out. I think probably the most difficult aspect of the training is getting people to sit and just listen. Because a lot of time, our natural instinct is, I want to give advice. Let me give an opinion.
And that's with everybody. I feel.
That's with everybody. So this now becomes teaching them just to sit, listen, and when the student is ready to ask those questions, they are. That's our natural thing. Because I think a lot of it is just that initial of the coming out process is just cathartic. I need to say it out loud, and I need to know that I can say it in an environment that I'm not going to get judged. And I think that's part of what safe space really is. That's the initial. From that moment on, it just becomes more of where can I find, and you get the list. Where do I go for if I want to do STD checks and I don't want my family to know? Where do I go for that? Where I'm 21 years old, I've never been to a bar
outside
or a
the
club,
family doctor,
so where do I go?
or
And what's in, and with it being in Santa Ana and in Orange County, we have limited services here in Orange County.
Sure.
And so it's teaching them, it's like, okay, well, drive across the border into LA. There's hundreds of places. And we do have amazing facilities here in Orange County too, so.
I'm sure. Just because we are coming up on a break, and I know that, speaking of like where kids can go, I heard that there's a mural that was recently painted.
Correct, yes.
I think outside your office.
Yes, right outside my office. It was kind of purposely planned that way.
Okay.
It was a really simple conversation one day with Professor Hofstetter there in the art department, and I said, it would be really wonderful. I've been thinking about it for 15 years about we need a mural to teach LGBTQ history.
Yeah,
and it came up because a student saying, I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Who are these people? I was having a conversation in class about Harvey
I think we
Milk.
have a visual too,
Okay.
I think, that we should be showing soon.
So
people
a
can
student
see.
said, I was talking about Harvey Milk, and they said, who? And granted, Harvey Milk is
No, I know
even
that
before
one.
me, but it was like we would bring up conversations, and they wouldn't even know who these were. And so it just began to blossom quickly when I went to Darren and said, look, we need to do this. And he goes, well, find me a wall, because space is limited. And I said, well, look, there's one right outside my office. What an awesome opportunity. So I get to walk and see that every day. And then students drop by every day, every week to say, who is that? Why are they up there? I recognize that one, and that one, but I don't know who those are. And it opens up an opportunity for us to teach some history at the same time.
There's
as
Ellen,
teaching.
there's Anderson Cooper. but
Exactly.
Who are these people?
Exactly. They understand, the media ones that they see immediately,
Yeah.
but they're like, there's some history ones, from Harvey Milk to Audre Lorde. They're like, well, who's Audre Lorde? And, an amazing African-American, poet. And so giving them that opportunity to see that there is such a depth to the LGBT history that's just not being taught anywhere.
All right. Well, if people want to learn a little bit more about that, they can go find that mural.
Yes.
They can find any of those safe space stickers.
Yes.
And we're going to go to a break now,
Excellent.
but when we get back, we still have plenty to talk about.
Fantastic.
So we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned to find out how Lance is raising awareness throughout our campus on SAC News in Focus.
That they do offer a lot of help for their students when it comes to the CTE program. If I do want to get certificates, so that's a great help.
Professors are here to like actually tell you like, hey, I'm here to help you.
The MESA program, they like lend me books for like my chemistry, my bio, and the learning center. They helped me so much.
My favorite thing here is the people. I love the people here.
Welcome back. We are talking with Communications Studies Department Chair Lance Lockwood about his work at SAC, raising awareness regarding the LGBTQ plus community. Lance, so let's just get right into it. We were talking about safe spaces before,
Yes.
But I'd like to get a little bit more into what some of the events that you've been coordinating and organizing on campus.
So once
go
a
ahead.
year, once a year, most of these events that we do with the LGBTQ community are tied in with my gender communication class. It's only taught during the spring semester.
Okay.
And so usually what I do is I try to tie in my guest speakers or events with the class and open it up to the Santa Ana College community and of course Santa Ana and Orange County in general. So early in the semester we had actress and activist Erica Irving, and most students know her from the American Horror Story series. She played
Okay.
Amazon Eve in Freak Show, and then she just played, I think she was called The Fist in Apocalypse that was just done. And she's done some amazing science fiction movies, and she's been a friend of mine for years, and I absolutely love having her. And so she comes and talks about what it means to be a transgender actress in Hollywood.
And she was here for the mural unveiling,
Correct.
right?
So she was here for the early unveiling of it.
Okay.
And so
We have some
she-
footage of that we should be showing right
Excellent.
now.
Okay.
Excellent.
And she came and was a guest speaker also after the unveiling of that. So we were able to present her a plaque and let her see the mural itself, and brought tears to her eyes. And she always wanted a student of mine said, "Why is she down below? Why is she kind of close to the floor?" And I said, "Well, she is 6 foot. I think she's like 6'8". So she goes, for the first time in her life, people have to look down at her. So she liked that.
Yeah, no, for one of the roles you said was like Amazon.
Yeah,
and I was
Amazon
like-
Eve. Yeah.
I saw the footage earlier and I was like,
Yeah.
right on the nose.
6'8". And she's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful woman. And so she comes and talks about what it was like, to be a man, and then transitioning in her 30s and being a supermodel throughout Asia. And then eventually getting into acting and stuff on television. So we start with her, usually early in the semester. And then we begin, this is our 4th year that we just did Dragucation. It was produced and performed last week here on campus in Phillips Hall. And so usually what that happens is I bring in 4 professional drag queens from the United States. Fortunately, the 4 that I do bring in are very good friends of mine, and they all live within LA, Orange County, and Riverside County. So it's great that they come and donate their time and expertise, and we do a big Q&A on stage. So
Okay.
the audience can actually ask them as many candid questions as they like.
And I think this year it was actually done as a like an open to the public event, right?
So this is their 2nd year we've done it that way. So
Okay.
last year we did it as open to the public, and then this year it was the same. So we sell tickets for it every year. So last year and this year we sold out Phillips Hall, which is fantastic.
Wow.
So it's amazing to have a full audience in that theater, and it's a state-of-the-art theater. I don't understand why our community doesn't embrace the dance department, the theater department like they should.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
State-of-the-art theater.
I don't know
It's
if I've ever
like-
heard sold out Phillips Hall. I don't know if I've ever heard that
and
before.
our community, Santa Ana and Orange County, they really need to support this theater. It is one of the most amazing state-of-the-art theaters we have in
yeah.
California.
I've been on their stage.
Yeah, so it's
really nice.
phenomenal. So we sell it out. It's a Q&A with drag queens, and then we take an intermission, and then they come out and do a full-blown 60-minute drag show for an audience. We figured out a couple years ago that a lot of students aren't old enough to go see a drag show. You got to be 21 or older sometimes to go to a drag show. So
Really?
I have
I would have thought it would
16,
be
17,
18.
18-year-olds that are like, I want to see a drag show other than television. So this gives them an opportunity to see a full-blown drag show on a professional stage with lighting and music, and I think that the girls, the drag queens, they absolutely love doing this. And to
it's for a
see-
sold-out theater, I mean.
absolutely. But to see students and
Yeah.
and everybody there, and that's what I love about it. It's not just 400 seats of gay people. We're talking every walk of life shows up for these shows, from kids to adults to gay, straight, lesbian, everybody's there. So it's like this big, wonderful 400 seat like hug. So that's
That
how I
sounds
to
like a
look at
party.
it. Yeah, it is. It's a fabulous moment.
And there's I think I saw some of the footage they were cutting together. I think there was like a part where they had students involved in part of it too.
Correct. So this year we brought in the Santa Ana dance department. And
Okay.
so I brought it to them early in the semester and said,
Is this
hey,
the first time for that?
First time for the dance students.
Okay.
So the very first year we did it on stage, it was just myself, my good friend Alexander Rodriguez, who MCs it for me. And so that was the first year. Then it's like every year they're like, okay, now what are you going to do? So you have to up it.
Oh, yeah, you've
So
got
I
to
had
up
to
the
make
ante
it.
every year,
So
of
it's like
course.
this show just ended and they're already saying, what are you doing next year? I'm like, I'm barely recovered from this one, so I got to think about it. But yeah, so we brought the dance
Pyrotechnics,
students in.
maybe?
Exactly. So we brought the dance students in. 19 of the dance department students completely choreographed. I gave them the music and said, go for it. And I went and saw them about a week before the show and was blown away by the talent of these young men and young women that did this. And then they did it on stage, and then they did an intermission thing with us, and then they helped close the show. So it was just an absolutely amazing opportunity to have them on stage with these drag queens and doing something that they don't get to do normally themselves.
Yeah, and that's great. That sounds like a really interesting opportunity, not only for your class, but how did you raise awareness for this? Because I know it was open to the public.
Well, so the first 2 years was in my classroom. It was, like I said, it was my gender communication class. And I do a segment on the history of drag. And people don't realize that drag has been around forever. This is not a new thing. It's been more popular because of RuPaul. But it's been around forever. Men dressing as women have been around forever. We can go all the way back to Shakespeare.
It used to be every play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then when it became more of a cultural element, and so we start talking about, I show them Paris is Burning in class. And so it became just a discussion. And I went home one night and I went, you know what, I got to bring drag queens to school. So I reached out to 2 of my good friends who are drag queens in LA and said, in Long Beach, and I said, look, I need you to come to class. And they're not a huge fan of doing day drag because it's exhausting.
It looked exhausting. Yeah.
And they're like, we'll do it. So they showed up, we held it in class, and at that time I think I had maybe 30 students. Next year I went, okay, I got to talk about it more. So I just started putting out flyers and telling people, hey, I'm bringing drag queens to Santa Ana College. When you say drag queen, Santa Ana College, people go, what? Because we're kind of locked in this little conservative little county, and so I said, yeah, I'm bringing drag queens. So we went from 30 students to about 100, 120 students in a classroom. I'm sure the fire marshal, don't tell them, was a little upset with me.
Don't worry, this won't be broadcast
exactly,
anywhere.
we're not broadcast anywhere, right? And then the next year I was like, look, if I can get 120 students by just talking about it, what if I take it to a theater? So instead of going off-site, because there were theaters around Santa Ana I could have taken it to, I wanted our college to be that foundation, that root of doing something that our school has never done before, something that our community doesn't get to see unless they're part of the LGBT community and they go to Velvet Lounge in downtown Santa Ana. That's the only place it would see it. So this was like, I've got to take it. So I walked over to the theater department and Sean Smalls and said, hey, Sean, have you ever thought about doing a drag show? And he just was like, yes, let's do it. And so he got his tech people on board. I just said, let's do it. And so the first year on stage was beautiful. I thought it was great. I'd mentioned earlier, one of my very good friends, Alexander Rodriguez, who has a radio show that's broadcast internationally and now a television show out of LA TV. I brought to his attention and said, hey, what about an MC? He goes, oh my God, I think this would be awesome, because he's from Orange County.
Yeah.
So we brought it to his attention, and then this year it just got
really
bigger.
just came together.
It just got bigger, and so next year, I don't know, fireworks. I'm sure Sean doesn't want to hear that, but
Lance,
fireworks.
Thank you for coming here.
Thank you
It's
so
been
much.
amazing talking with
I
you
loved it.
today. We're going to wrap up the show now. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of SAC News in Focus. We'd like to thank our amazing guest, Lance Lockwood. Don't forget to check out our regular edition of SAC News, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And we'll see you next time.